That's powerful. Where are you up?
Well, David, my son-in-law is an Aventura also.
Yeah, so he's probably inside most of the day.
He's at a show. Yeah, he's working a show. Yeah.
Yeah, so the weather hasn't been good, but it's better than still a vacation.
Good. Oh, you're in Florida? You're in Florida?
I am in Florida, yes.
You left Florida here, you know what I mean? The weather you left us.
I mean, I didn't plan it, but like
if it makes you feel any better, I'm in Florida also, and it's pouring down.
I'm coming back tomorrow night.
All right. Doesn't make me feel any better, but it's supposed to rain in the country for the next 4 days.
Aye.
Yeah. Anyways, well, all those that are in Florida should enjoy themselves, and all those that are not in Florida should enjoy themselves. All right, let's go, because I got to stop at like 9:20. I got to give I don't know why I agreed to give a schmooze to one of the yeshivas here. So
look at you.
Yeah. All right, we ready? We have a minion. Okay. You here? You good? See, you want to pull up a chair? Okay. Tanya Rebbe Omer, yeah? On the last 3 words on Ayin Tes Amud Beis. Yeah? So we're talking about shiurim of food. So as a hakdama, so we know that food is metama, but food is metama midirabanan. Really food, I hope it doesn't bring up bad memories from those hard Gemaras and Shabbos. But food, Be'ikr cannot make anything tummy, but the Chachamim cannot become tummy. So Chachamim were mistaken that it does, and the measurement that they said that it becomes tummy is an egg, a kaveya. All right, so let's see. So Tani Rebbe Yomer, Kol hashiurin kulon b'kazayis. All shiurin is kazayis, right? Anytime you say the word achila, anytime there's an achila in the Torah that requires a kazayis. Chutz mi tumas eichlin, except for tumah of eichlin. Shashina hakasa b'mashmon b'shina chacham b'shiurim. Since the Torah changes the way it mentions it, even though we just said it's the Rabanan, but that the Gemara is going to ask later, is it the Rabanan or the Raisa? So since the Torah changed the pasuk the way it was mashma b'shinu chacham b'shiurim, and memela the chachamim changed the shir, the tumah. And what it meaning, we just said every achila is a kizayis. By tumah it's a kebeya. Why? Because the Torah changed mashma. It's the raya l'davar, and a raya to this that when the Torah changes its terminology, therefore you're going to change the measurement. Is Yom Kippur, like we've been learning. My shina kasav mashmai. What did the Torah change by it's when it's mashmai by Yom Kippur? That you should not cause you. Well, it's going to be tomorrow's daf, exactly how you learn Meloi Se'unah, but what it means, you should not have Inui. Meaning, but what it is, if you don't have Inui on Yom Kippur, you're going to get punished. So it says Loi Se'unah, it doesn't say Loi Seichel. What did the Chum do to change the measurement? Because they changed it to a date as opposed to an olive. Meaning, since the Torah didn't write not to eat, it said Loi Se'unah. So since the Torah changed it, so therefore the Chachamim changed the measurement to a date, which is definitely a lot bigger than an olive. Right? Yesterday we had a machlokes whether it's bigger or smaller than an egg, but it's definitely bigger than an olive. So you see by Yom Kippur, the Torah changed its terminology, so therefore it's going to change. It changed the measurement. Umay raya l'davar Yom Kippurim. And what do you mean that it's a raya to Yom Kippur? The imay hasa. Because if you really want to just learn it out from Yom Kippur, hava mina archa dekrahu, you would have said that's the way the pasuk talks. So Kamash Milan was saying no. The Chacham was saying that that's not the way the pasuk talks, and the pasuk did change itself. And since it changed, we're going to use a different measurement. Right? Tumas eichlin kebeitza minalan. Okay, so how do you know that something that's tamei for food is a measurement of kebeitza? Amar Ravo, Amar Rav Elazar, Amar Kromi, Kala Eichel Asher Yafa. From any food that you're going to eat, Eichel haba machmas Eichel. It means food that comes from food. What's food that comes from food? Be'ezah, which one is this? Beitzah's tarnagoylis. That's the beitzah of a tarnagoylis. I mean, that's food that comes from food. Why? Because the mother is food, right? If you shecht it, it's food, and then the egg that comes from it is food. So therefore, tumah that's a eichel. So mamela, we're going to say that it's the shear is a kibetza. Now the Gemara is going to ask a few kashas here, and the terutzim have some some of the terutzim here are very, very difficult to understand. All right, so Gemara says ve'emu gedi. So who says there's food from food also? You could have a gedi, right? A gedi, a goat, it has a mother that's food. So maybe the measurement for tumah should be the size of a gedi, right? Because the gedi's mother is food and the gedi is food, so it's food that comes from food. So Gemara says mechus shchita. Well, you can't say it's food because the gedi needs to be shechted. So the obvious kasha is so does a hen. A hen also needs to be shechted. Okay, so it's not pashut. It's not really clear what the Gemara is saying. Then Gemara says, okay, ve'ema ben pekua. So maybe it's a ben pekua, right? As we know, a ben pekua is a calf, or any animal really, that when you shecht it, you find a live animal inside. So the halacha is that when you find the live animal inside, you don't have to shecht that animal. That's what we said that Reb Chaim Ozer in Europe when they wanted to ban shechita, I think it was Reb Chaim Ozer, no? Reb Chaim Ozer? I think somebody of that generation wanted to make a ben pekua farm where nothing would need shechita, and that's the way we didn't get meat, because anything that comes from a ben pekua doesn't need shechita. So since our previous teretz was that it needs shechita, so maybe it's a ben pekua, and the shear for Tumas Eichel would be a ben pekua. So
a ben pekua, another calf out of a calf from one that was ben pekua doesn't need shechita forever, or just
correct.
That ben pekua?
No, anything that comes out from a ben pekua.
Oh wow, okay.
Right, but that's not the point here. The point is that if you have an animal that gets taken out of the mother after the mother shechted, that animal doesn't need shechita. So, and that maybe that's the measurement of tumah, because its mother is food and the baby is food. So the Gemara says no ton kriya. You still need to get rid of the blood, right? Even though it doesn't need shechita, but you have to somehow cut a hole in it so that all the blood drains out of it, because there's an isra of achila of blood. Fine. So the Gemara says ve'ema beitzas bar yuchni, which is another kasha. So bar yuchni is some sort of massive bird. Rashi says, right? So that the egg was so big that Rashi brings in the Gemara B'chayros that an egg, it drowned 60 cities when the egg cracked. Okay, I don't know what that means, but either way, the Gemara's kasha is shver because it's not a kosher bird. So if it's not a kosher bird, so how can you say that it's considered achila? It's not kosher. That's another tough question on this Gemara. But either way, the Gemara answers tafasta muruba like tafasta mu'ah tafasta, right? A famous phrase in the Gemara. When you're trying to grab, don't grab too much, just grab a little bit. Right? Meaning, so there's a couple of different ways to learn what exactly this means. But the pashut the way is that if you know you grab a little bit, then you know for sure you're correct. If you grab too much, meaning because that little amount of a kibeya, let's say in this case, the question is does Tumas Eichlin go with a kibeya, or does Tumas Eichlin go with the size of this bird, which must have been massive? So you know for sure if you do kibeya, you're for sure right, because included in this bird is also a kibeya. So tafasta meruba lo tafasta, don't grab too much, because if you grab too much, you might be wrong. Let's say you decide the measurement is so large, and then you say all food is not tumah. So then you're off in your estimations. Fine. So the Gemara says ve'ema biyasat itziparta. So maybe it's an egg of a small bird, the zutter tuba, that's really small, right? And it's much smaller than a hen, and therefore the measurement for tumas eichlin is much less. The porch that I'm sitting on has a bird's nest with 3 tiny eggs in it. I just thought about it right now. Right, Mamish, 10 feet from where I'm sitting, you've got this, got a 3 tiny blue eggs, but the birds didn't come back, so it doesn't seem like we could do shluach hakan. But anyways, so the Gemara blives by a kasha. Gemara doesn't answer this. So Rabbi Vo says a different shot. Rabbi Vo himself said, Mikol ha'oichel asher ye'ochel. From any food that you're going to eat. Oichel she'ata oichel bevas achas. It's a food that you could eat at one time, meaning one swallow. Shira chachamim Ain beis habliyim v'achzik yosem mi beitzas tardagoyles. The throat cannot hold more than an egg of a hen, a chicken egg. So therefore, when it says, because the pasuk says kol oichel asher yochel, so anything that you could eat, so it's something the maximum that you could possibly swallow at one time, and that would be an egg. Again, in Yonah de Yoma, notwithstanding the Meshugana who eats 500 hot dogs in a half hour on July 4th, right? I don't know if his throat can have more than that or not. But the average person can have swallow more than one egg at one time. Okay, fine. Amar Rabbi Lazar. So Rabbi Lazar says, a very interesting thing. He says, if you ate a chaylev, right? We're talking about b'shoigig. Yeah. So now you're going to be chayav a carbon. Yeah. So you should write down how much you ate. Meaning, if you knew that you ate a kazayas worth, then write down a kazayas. If you knew you ate a kabeya, or write down the ounces, I guess, or write down whatever measurement. Why? Shema yavik bezdin acher v'yaru b'shiurim, because maybe another bezdin is going to come along and say that your shiurim are off, right? Sort of like we had with the kabeya, with the Noida Yehuda, right? The Noida Yehuda said that the egg measurements have to be doubled, right? Benegeya to, and the Mishabura paskins like that, Benegeya to any deraisa, you should double your kazayas because of the Noida Yehuda, right? So the Gemara is sort of saying the same thing. Make sure you write down how much you ate so that in case a new bezdin comes along and changes the measurements, you know exactly how much, which the Gemara is now going to continue and say exactly what it's Negeya. What are you saying? Somebody say something? No? Okay. So my Yar B'Shurim, what does it mean if the new Bezin is going to be add on Shurim? If you're going to say that the new Bezdin is going to be Mechayev you a carbon on a smaller Kizayis, right? How could that be? Vatani, we learned in the Brisa, Asher, Loisei Asena B'Shkoga V'Oshim. So this is talking about when the Gadol Ador paskins incorrectly. Right, so he has to bring a carbon because he paskin incorrectly. Right, so it says there, Asher lo yisei asena b'shkaga. Right, you can't do it b'shoigig v'oshem, and he made a mistake. Right, so he brings a carbon. Hashav miyadiyasai maybe carbon ashigugasi. Somebody who is doing tshuva from what he knew, right, which he thought what he was doing was correct. Maybe carbon ashigugasi. Loishav midiyasai, but if he's not doing tshuva, meaning he wouldn't stop from what he thought he was doing, then ain't that meaning, I'm sorry. If he did something incorrect, but he thought it was correct, right, then that's a problem. Meaning it's only if he made a mistake. I mean, obviously any mistake you think you're correct. But meaning here, he didn't even do anything wrong. Meaning if the new Bezdin changes the shear, so how could you say that you're going to have to bring a carbon later? Right? You never thought you did anything wrong. The rule by bringing a shoygig is that you have to think that you were doing something correct and you made a mistake. Right? There, when the Bezdin had the old shiurim, you didn't make a mistake. You did exactly what the psak was during those times. A new Bezdin comes along and changes the shiurim. That's not going to make you have to bring a carbon. Meaning, what the Gemara is thinking now is that let's say the kazayas was 3 ounces. Right? So you ate chaylev, that's that the Gemara is going to ask. But let's say you ate chaylev that was 2.5 ounces. So right now you're not chayav a carbon. Comes along a new bezdin and says, you know what? We're changing the kazayas to 2.4 ounces. Now it comes out that this guy is chayav a carbon because he ate 2.5 ounces. So Gemara is saying that can't be chayav carbon because when he ate it, it was mutter. Right? You only bring a carbon when you're eating something that was wrong. You just made a mistake. What are you saying?
So Yaakov, what?
Yeah.
This new Bezdin is coming when?
I'm not sure. I'm assuming in his lifetime, but it could be even later.
No, I mean, they're starting a Bezdin now in Morristown. Where is this Bezdin coming from?
I have no idea. A new Bezdin was appointed, I guess.
So I would say for Kert, there's a new Bezdin that's changing Shurim. We've been going for the Chumrah for 2,000 years in Golis. The Shurim should be becoming smaller. Every year should be way smaller than we've been doing. You shouldn't be over.
Yeah, I hear. I know the Gemara is really going to ask that. What are you talking about? The shiurim going to get big. Let's hold off till the end of the Gemara because I think what you're saying is the Gemara's kasha.
Fine.
Ella, yeah, very good. So Ella, the loy mechayvi carbon ad kizayas gadol must be that the new bezdin is being makel, and it's saying that you're not chayiv until you eat a bigger. So now we're saying, according to what you thought, that the new bezdin is actually making the shiurim smaller, the mechayvi carbon a kizayas katan, they're going to be bechayiv you on a kizayas katan. My yarba b'shiurim. What does it mean to be marba b'shiurim? Again, the original sentence said you be marba b'shiurim, but that's not a riba shiurim. The only way to understand this Gemara is if the new bezdin comes and shrinks the shiurim, and you thought you were chayav carbon for eating the chela, and end up being that you potter because the new bezdin made the shiurim smaller. But fine. But the Gemara says yarba b'shiurim. Perhaps the new bezdin be marba shiurim. So our answer is Shema Yarba b'karbanos machmas shiurim. No, maybe you're going to have to bring more karbanos because of the shiurim, right? Because since they're making the measurement smaller, right? So therefore, you might end up having to bring a lot more karbanos. So that's what the Gemara means. Fine. Zamar Rav Yochanan shiurim v'einshin halacha l'moshe b'sina. This we had before. Shiurim, any measurements that we know about, are all halacha l'moshe b'sina, and einshin are also halacha l'moshe b'sina. So Gemara asks, einshin michtaksivi. What do you mean? Every lav has an einish. It tells you exactly what the einish is. How could you say that it's halacha l'moshe b'sina? Halachi kamar Amar Yochanan shiurim shal einshin halacha l'moshe b'sina. The shiurim of the einshin is halacha l'moshe b'sina. Right, meaning how much you have to eat in order to get punished is halacha l'moshe b'sina. Right? So the shiurim are halacha l'moshe b'sina, meaning it's halacha l'moshe b'sina that how much do you have to eat in order to be chayav kares on Yom Kippur for eating? That's what on Yom Kippur you're chayav kares for eating. That the Torah says. How much do you have to eat? That the Chachamim said. So that's what we mean that the einshim halacha l'moshe b'sina. Tani nami hachi shiurim shal einshim halacha l'moshe b'sina is halacha l'moshe b'sina. Acherim ma'imrim bezdina shel yayvitz tiknum. The bezdin of yayvitz. This is not the yayvitz that was 500 years ago, right? Rabbi Yaakov Emden, right? But I wonder if that's what he based his name on. I don't know. Right? So bezdin shel yayvitz tiknum. The bezdin of yayvitz was mistaken. But we know that it says these are the mitzvahs. She'ein navi reshoy lechadash davar me'ata, that a navi is not allowed to be mechadash anything new. So what it means, and we had this also before, it means that they forgot about it, meaning the halacha was said by the Torah. Then Klal Yisrael forgot it, and then the Nevi'im were miyasid it again, either through memory or they decided that this is the way it has to be.
So what did they do? What did they do in between the forgetting and
what do you do? You keep forgetting?
No, what do they do between forgetting and reinstating?
What?
They forgot after Yeshua, and they read.
I can't hear. So go ahead.
All right, I don't know.
What?
Nothing. Forget it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a good question.
It's
a good question.
I didn't hear what he said.
He was asking if they didn't know the halacha, if there was a kufa where they didn't know the halacha, what did they do? Like, how did they
I mean, what did they do in the interim?
Yeah, there was a period of time that they forgot. So what did they do?
I have no idea.
Also,
I
better yet, where
somebody
was the
discusses
Messiah,
that.
right?
One of the discussions discussed that. What?
Also, where was the Messiah, right? In Pirkei Avos it says there's a Messiah. Where's the Messiah if it was forgotten?
Oh.
Yeah. It's what do you call it? It's the Mefarshim definitely discuss Zev's kasha. What's with them? Well, how do they? You mean they're making it up now? They must have. I'm gonna throw out there that they must have had siyat d'shmaya that they miyasid it properly.
I hear. So how did they rely on that? Wasn't the whole point that Moshe Rabbeinu was able to give it over and then it would just be Messiah?
Yeah.
That Vayter comes back to the hearing the vua that, you know.
And I don't know. Okay, I'm sorry, I just gotta go, so I gotta go a little fine. Right? So if you drink Malay Lugmov, yeah, Some of Yehuda Amar Shmuel, it doesn't mean you have to fill up your cheeks, right? Might fill up the full cheeks. Yeah. Ella kol she'ilu yisalkenu litzad echad v'yirek malay lugmav. As long as you fill up one cheek and it looks like you filled up your cheeks, then that's enough, right? Now, this is taka what we do. I mean, lamaisa nowadays everybody needs an exact measurement, but the bottom line is if somebody needs to drink shiurim, somebody needs to drink on Yom Kippur, so we tell them to do shiurim. The real way to do it is to tell the person to fill up a cheek, spit it into a cup, and whichever that measurement is, they should have a little less than that every 5 minutes, 8 to 9 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever the shiurim are. But that's what malay lugmav is. It says va'anan tanan malay lugmav, but it says midlay lugmav, right? It doesn't say ki. So amos, the one answer no. Ema kimalay lugmav. Say what it means.
But isn't
like,
lugmav two cheeks?
What?
Lugmav is two cheeks.
Yes, that's yes.
But
that's
you're
what
saying
it's
we only fill up one cheek and then
we
spit
only
it
fill
out.
up. That's what it's saying.
Even though lugmav is two cheeks.
Correct. That's exactly what the Gemara is saying. The Gemara is saying that it sounds like lugmav, right, from his cheeks, and the Gemara is saying no, he should stick it all to one cheek, and then it looks like malay lugmav. Meaning, you're right to fill up cheeks. Who says you have to fill it up? Well, you probably can't see me, but who says you have to fill up the cheeks bulging out, right? It's just fill up the cheeks. So what the Gemara is saying is no, you fill up one cheek fully, and that's the equivalent of both cheeks. That's basically what the Gemara is saying, right? Oh, so when it says no, it means like malay lugmav, but not exactly. So the Gemara asks, we have a kasha. So this 4 shitas here. How much do you have to drink in order to be chayiv on Yom Kippur? He says a straight out revius. Full cheeks, the full cheeks, like our Mishnah passes, which we normally do. We pass them like Vasila. But you remember Shum Rebbe Lazar, Kimaloi Lugmav, Kimaloi Lugmav, like Lugmav, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, Mikidei Gemia. Right? That's enough to swallow. Right? Now, right? So what's the kasha? So Beis Hillel, if you're saying that our Mishnah means Kimaloi Lugmav, Beis Hillel says Miloi Lugmav, and Rebbe Lazar says Kimaloi Lugmav. So it's mashma that we're passing like Rebbe Lazar, not like Beis Hillel. So Gemara says, well, mi adifim masnisen, is it any better than our Mishnah? Do kimna kidei sheyira, right? Where we say it's just enough that it looks like that. Hachanami kidei sheyira, so too here, Beis Hillel means kidei sheyira, but it doesn't mean actual. So the Gemara asks, Yachi Hainu Rebbe Lazar. So if you're saying that Beis Hillel, when he says ki, when he says miloi lugma is ki miloi lugma, so that's exactly the same thing as Rebbe Lazar. So you can be now you malay lugma dachak. The difference between them is pushing it in. Meaning, do you have to mamish squeeze, push out the? I said push in, push out the liquid as far as you can go into the cheek, or do you just push out the cheek? Yeah. So Rabbi Eliezer holds you got to push it out all the way, and Basila holds you don't have to push it out all the way. Okay, so if that's the case, then it comes out that who's the machman, who's the mekel. Comes out here that the Beis Shammai is the machmer, right? Because we're talking about how much do you have to drink in order to be chayiv on Yom Kippur, right? So according to Beis Shammai, you have to drink less than a revius, because everybody agrees that a cheekful is less than a revius. That's why, and this is a mistake a lot of people make by Kiddush and Abdullah. They think you have to drink a revius. No, the kais has to be a revius. You just have to drink a malay lugmav, which is a raiv of a revius. So malay lugmav is clearly less than a revius. So it comes out that if somebody drinks a revius on Yom Kippur, if somebody drinks a little less than a revius on Yom Kippur, according to Beis Shammai, he's potter. According to Beis Hillel, he's chayiv. So you see that this is a chumrah of Beis Hillel. And there's a whole Mishnah that lists all the chumras where Beis Hillel is the more machmer, because usually Beis Shammai is the more machmer. And the Mishnah lists a whole bunch of places where Beis Hillel is the machmer, and this is not one of them. But it's clear that Beis Hillel is the one that's machmer. So he answered. Now we're on Tumah Beis. Ki itchel beinon binyan melech. Ki itchel ba'oig melech habashan itchel. When we're saying the question, we're referring to Oig Melech HaBashan, the Havalei Beis Shammai L'Chumra, a wild teretz. This whole Gemara is talking about, we're talking about Oig Melech HaBashim.
Rashi
So according
says
to-
Lav Dafka.
What?
Rashi says Lav Dafka. It's a big
Good, but it
difference,
means somebody very large. It means somebody very large.
which is not
somebody with-
normal, which is not a regular case.
Correct. So it comes out that yes, really, Beis Hillel is the machna. But we're talking about a case where the guy is so big that his cheekful is bigger than his cheekful is bigger than a revius. So therefore, Beis Hillel would be the maker. That's talking about somebody with a very large mouth. Okay, so Maskul Rav Zera.
It's Yaakov.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's Bedafka talking about that. It's also talking about that. So
And
you
a
can't say
Hanami.
it's Michumri Beis Hillel. It's not Michumri Beis Hillel. There are cases where it's a Chumra, the cases where it's a Kula.
Okay, I'm saying the way Rashi says it. Rashi says Bebei Midrasha in the Beis Medrash. That's what they were handling with, right?
Yeah, because they had this kasha. So
Okay.
Mamela,
Okay. So it's saying as long as it's not 100% of the time, it's not included in the list. Okay, fair enough. So Maskul Rav Zera, Maishna Achila. So now the Gemara asks a whole list of very practical questions. Maskul Rav Zera, Maishna Achila, the Chol Chad B'Chad B'Kikeseves. How come by Achila it's a stationary measurement? Everybody it gets a Keseves. Umaishna Shasiya, the Chol Chad B'Chad B'Didei. And how come drinking is subjective, meaning the eating, it's everybody is a Keseves, a date. And by drinking, it's totally every guy you could have one guy drinking 10 ounces theoretically on Yom Kippur and he's potter, and you have another guy who can't even drink an ounce. That's so what's a pshat? Like we had yesterday, the Rabanan figured out that when somebody eats a date's worth of food, that's giving him Yishuv Adas, and that's enough to aser Yom Kippur. And less than that, less than a date worth of food, a person's not going to have Yishuv Adas. The Shasiya, it's tali each person. A person will be very satisfied if he drinks a cheekful. But he's not going to be satisfied with the size of a cheek from his
Is
friend's
this
cheek.
true?
It has to be his. I have no idea.
I'm just curious. Like food, people don't like. They just don't need it. I guess they don't need to eat. Like, what does that mean? Like somebody who's a large person.
So that's very good. That's the next kasha. So very good, Akiva. Maskevler of Zera, B'chol Kula B'Keseves, V'Oig Melech HaBashim B'Keseves. The whole world is happy with a Keseves. And Oig Melech HaBashim, who's a giant, he's also going to be happy with a Keseves. How could that be? So Abaya says, Kimlu Hu Rabanan the Bahachi Miyasvadaite. The Rabanan, which is also an interesting lashon. Kimlu Hu Rabanan. The Rabanan figured it out that this causes Yishuv Adas. Less than this doesn't cause Yishuv Adas. Miu Kulei Alma Tuva. The whole world will have a lot of Yishuv Adas with a date. Oig Melech HaBashim Porto. Oig Melech HaBashim he'll also have some sort of Yishuv Adas, but it's going to be much less of a Yishuv Adas. And now we have an adjustable Yishuv Adas going on here. Oig Melech HaBashim will have Yishuv Adas, just not a lot of Yishuv Adas, and everybody else will have Yishuv Adas. So Maskul Rav Zera. I don't know. Aaron Kaplan, you have a visitor. So Maskifla Rav Zera, right? So Rav Zera has the kasha, Basar Shomin b'Keseves. So you're going to say that fatty meat is a Keseves for Lulevi Kefanim b'Keseves, and Lulevi Kefanim, which is like vegetables, food that nobody on this staff likes to eat, I don't think. Otherwise, and if they do, we throw them out. Yeah. So fat, a date's worth of fat is going to give you the same satisfaction as some sort of vegetable or fruit. Yes, a date's worth of food will give you Yishuv Adas. If you eat a date's worth of basar shomin, you're going to be very happy. Lulavik Kefanim porta, but Lulavik Kefanim, you're only going to be you can only have a small amount of happiness. Yeah, so then Maskul Rava, Kazayas, Pikidei Achilas Pras. So the same thing. What's the amount of time of Achila? It's Kidei Achilas Pras, the amount of time that it takes to eat a piece of bread, which we basically say is anywhere from 3 minutes to 9 minutes. So Yabba Kazayas is Kidei Achilas Pras, the Kaseves is Kidei Achilas Pras. They're both Ashir Kidei Achilas Pras, right? Meaning, how could that be? It's a different amount of food, and you're giving it the same amount of time to be eaten. This is the amount of time that you need to give a yishuv. More than that, right? If you eat the food longer than 9 minutes, regardless of what measurement of food it is, then it doesn't give you yishuv. You got to eat. You can't eat it too slow. You got to eat it with some sort of speed to it. So then maskul rabba because seves b'kedei achilas pras. Because seves, a date gets to be eaten b'achilas pras. Chatzi pras b'kedei achilas pras, and a chatzi pras, a half of loaf. So we said that tamei food, tamei food can only make, if somebody eats tamei food, he could only become tamei if he eats a chatzi pras b'kedei achilas pras. Right, so a chatzi pras is a bigger shear. So again, that same question: how could it be? How could you have that it's the same measurement of time if it's a lot more food? So the tumah of making the body tamei is from food is lav deraisa. So that's what we discussed earlier. So the Gemara says, "And we are Rapapa." Yeah,
the chatzi pras is a kabeya.
Correct. So it's more than well, the shaila is it well? You see
it's the same thing.
No, it's but not a kasev. The shaila is, are you garis kasevis, or in the parentheses maybe it's a kizayis. Either way, it's not a kabeya. Either way, it's not a kabeya. Yesterday's daf, whether a kasevis is more or less. Either way, it's not a kabeya. So it's essentially the same kasha. Like, how can you say that there's the same yishuv adas if you're eating it in different times? If it's the same amount of food to be eaten at the same amount in the equal amount of time. So that's what Papa says. Don't worry about tumah. Tumah will more makel, right? Even though it should have a different time span, right? You have to eat the whole thing in the amount of time that it's supposed to be eaten that normally would somebody eat a kesevis, right? Meaning, and if you don't eat it that fast, even though normally you should take you a lot longer to eat it because it's a bigger measurement. But we're saying you have to eat in the smaller amount of time. Like this, less people will become tamei, right? Because we're saying you have to eat it faster, right? And if you don't eat it faster, they're not going to become tamei. Tomorrow says, "And we omer Rapapa hachi." Does Rapapa really say that it's tamei? That tumah is the Rabanan v'aksiv v'loisa tamu b'hem v'netmeis bum. It says you should not become tamei, and you should become tamei through them. V'omer Rapapa mikan shetumas gvia daraisa. We see from here that tumah of the body is a daraisa. So it says midirabanan v'kros machta ba'alma. It's a dirabanan, and the pasuk is an asmachta ba'alma. Like we always say when we have these kashas. So it's really dirabanan. The pasuk is asmachta ba'alma. Okay, let's just do a few more lines. Kol eichlin. So we said that eichlin are not mitzdaref with drink, meaning you get a kesevis of achila and you get a maloi lumav of drink, and you can eat both of those together. They don't combine for the minimum share. Zamara papa ochal umtza umilcha. If you eat a piece of meat with the salt, so mitzdaref that will combine to the same amount of food. It will combine. So let's say you have 99% date and 1% salt. That's going to combine. Even though salt is not considered a food. Given the akli inchi mitzdaref, since people normally put salt onto their meat, then it's mitzdaref. If let's say you have a vegetable that's like a pickle that has liquid on it, mitzdaref, the keseves b'yom kippurim, it's mitzdaref to a keseves, even though it's liquid. So Gemara says pshita, it's pashut, why? It's part of it. So Gemara says no, ma'od the same mashkahu. You would think that it's a liquid. The bottom line is the pickle brine is liquid. So we said liquid doesn't combine with solids. Anything that you use to make food, to be mashut food, is considered food. Yeah. So therefore, this is considered, even though it's liquid, it's considered food. Okay, we'll stop here. I'm sorry for going a little fast. But, yeah. All right. Good enough.
Shkoyach.
Shkoyach.
All right. Tag is on. I think it's raw meat. All right.
Jacob, enjoy the schmooze.
Thank you. I hope so.
Which schmooze?
What is this? You giving a schmooze?
Giving a schmooze now, yeah.
Oh, right.
Oh, wow. Is it going to be on the channel? Is it going to be on YouTube?
No, gonna be on, I don't know. I'll try and record it, but the problem is that it's from a place. You can't take out your phone, but I'll try. All right.
Yeah, send me that. I
Sagdom.
want to hear it. Okay, bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Aaron Kaplan, you still there?
I'm still here, Gershon.
What do we know when the Siyam is yet?
It's either going to be Monday or Tuesday night of the 9 days. That's what we're looking at.
Oh, pushing it past Sunday. I thought there was Havamina to make it Thursday before, the day of the Siyam.
Then it's not the 9 days.
Right. Okay, fine. So it's Sunday or Monday or Tuesday.
It's probably not
Right.
Sunday because a lot of people go away for weekends and it's just too hard.
Oh,
But
right.
Monday, Tuesday, it's probably
Monday.
looking.
Okay, fine. Should be okay. I need a
Alright.
sponsor. Yeah.
Okay, I hear.
All righty.
All right, we'll be Bekesher.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Barrett, so